The Nine, also known as the Aeneid, are one of the biggest and most discussed overarching mysteries in Destiny. For those of you that don't know, the group is actually named after the Aeneid from Egyptian mythology, who were a group of 9 deities that worshipped at the Heliopolis, which was the massive and sprawling ancient Egyptian city said to be the seat of worship for the sun god Ra, who, side note, I loved as a kid. Shout out ancient mythology. The 9 deities, though, each of who are composed of dark matter, developed cognition and birthed anew after being pulled into loops of antimatter via the force of gravity from each of the planets in our solar system's Sol. This means that the Nine's very existence is predicated on the planets they formed around, and each member of the group represents one of the 9 planets in our system. After this formation, the group achieved a sense of omnipotence and immense power that we have only seen in other corporeal beings like the Darkness and the Traveler. As to their main goal though, from what we can tell with communications and lore entries so far, the Nine's main goal is to ensure and sustain their own existence, either by protecting the life they depend on or finding a way to end their reliance on it entirely. And not every member agrees either, as 5 members of the 9 want to find this salvation in the dark or the light, and 4 want to find a completely new avenue by abandoning both. But in the meantime, this mysterious league of strangers is hell-bent on finding a way to preserve themselves, and since they can only interact with the dark matter they are composed of in areas like the otherworldly Jovians, they must use agents and emissaries to impose influence on the world of the living matter in which we live in. We see many examples of this, like the Trials of Osiris or the Trials of the Nine, which allows the group to study Guardians and their powers of the light as they battle for rewards. We also know that originally the Nine were very interested in studying the Ahamkara monsters for their powerful light abilities, before they were all killed off in the Great Hunt, which greatly angered the Nine. Furthermore, we have met beings like the Emissary, who is an agent of the 9 who was previously a Guardian, who was kidnapped and is now being used as a way for the 9 to communicate with living beings, along with other characters like the vendor character Zur. So the real question then becomes, what are the 9 up to right now? And do they have any plans that involve a larger plot with the light and darkness itself? The questions get even weirder when we mix in other lore texts that imply that some of the 9 may actually be Warmind AI systems, while others may be the concept of fluids and eternity itself. One notable lore text from the game reads, "The 9 are survivors of the cis-Jovian colonies who made a contract with alien forces to ensure their own survival. The 9 are deep-orbit war minds who weathered the collapse and hardened stealth platforms. The 9 are ancient Leviathan intelligences from the seas of Europa or the hydrocarbon pits of Titan. The 9 arrived in a mysterious transmission from the direction of the Corona Borealis supercluster." So maybe the story that we originally accepted of the 9 forming near planets from dark matter is only part of the story, as clearly there is something more going on with their origin. And as to how the 9 will come into play in future Destiny content, there are countless ideas. For one, it seems clear that the 9 are also in tune with the light and the dark in some way, and are doing everything they can do to better understand it, with some amongst their ranks wanting to control it, and some wanting to get rid of it. This means that whatever will happen in the final Shape expansion will likely have the 9 involved in a much bigger capacity, and they may even be trying to pit the light and the dark against one another so that they can make an attack when everyone least expects it. The question becomes though, what would an attack like this even look like? And do the 9 have any other ulterior motives we don't know about yet? Seeing as they are seemingly all-powerful beings, there must be more at stake than meets the eye. This is only further exacerbated too by the fact that the 9 seemingly have the ability to predict the future, as we have seen in their prophecy dungeon, which includes symbolic representations of future events such as the rise of Aramis or the disappearance of Io, Mars, Mercury, and Titan following the arrival of the Black Fleet. More than anything though, the 9 are a great example of just how deep the Destiny lore goes, and how many all-powerful and omnipotent beings have a say in where this universe is going.